Max owned 3 pairs of shoes, no more, no less. When he ran into any shoe-related issues, he'd discard that pair and buy another as replacement. The important thing is that he always, at any given moment, owned 3 pairs of shoes. This was a constant of the universe, whether Max knew it or not. The first pair were black, and by far the most worn. Their shininess had long since vanished, and they were purchased for the sole reason of being shoes to wear. They fit his feet comfortably, and Max was happy with that. They were nothing special. The second pair were white, and almost exclusively worn to walk to shoe shops whenever a new pair were needed. These were the backup pair. Whilst shinier, cleaner, and by all accounts simply better, Max would never dream of wearing these daily. He couldn't even recall how he had come into possession of them. They served their purpose of existing, and nothing more. The third pair were also black, but pointier at the ends. These were the fancy shoes. These are worn to weddings, or any other event that called for the need for pointy shoes. In Max's case, this was not very often. They had been worn a total of 3 times, and one of those was to make sure they fit. 3 shoe Max worked as a data analyst at a multinational company. He had always been good with numbers, and whilst his dream job was something that inspired his creativity a little more, he was content with his line of work. Katie, who worked on a desk right near his, is someone Max was always fond of. They had been on a date before, but ultimately, things just didn't work out. They still spoke and laughed, but Max always wanted something more than what they had. Perhaps in another reality was the final thing Katie had ever said on the matter. Max didn't find as much comfort in this as she had intended. Max saw this almost as an insult, a way of telling him that they were worlds apart and that she could never be with him. Katie saw this as a way of telling him that a different set of circumstances could have led to a different outcome. Whilst Max wanted more out of life, he didn't plan to do anything to change it. That was too much of a fuss for him. Besides, this was, of course, the only path his life could have possibly led to. Max's daily routine rarely altered. He would wake up, get ready, put on his shoes, and walk to work. After he got back home, he'd watch something on the TV whilst eating, and go to bed. The weekends were largely spent cleaning the apartment and watching more TV. Unknown to Max even minutes before it occurred, a small change in his routine would change his life forever. One day, before work, his main pair of shoes broke. They had been worn one too many times and simply gave in. Max didn't have time to get another pair. Before work, he put on his white backup pair, knowing that he would march down to the shoe shop as soon as he clocked out of work. Once he got to the building, however, something strange happened. Something 3 shoe Max found even stranger than wearing a white pair of shoes. A supply closet near his desk seemed to be glowing slightly. Curious as to what could be happening, he took a deep breath, opened up the door, and stepped inside. Max owned 7 pairs of shoes, no more, no less. When he ran into any shoe-related issues, he'd discard that pair and buy another as replacement. The important thing is that he always, at any given moment, owned 7 pairs of shoes. This was a constant of the universe, whether Max knew it or not. Each of the 7 pairs were very different, and each had its unique purpose. They all got worn equally, for equally important reasons. Some were brightly colored, others were dull. Some were sporty, others were fancy. Max may not have owned a great deal of shoes, but he was happy with his small collection. 7 Shoe Max worked as a sports columnist for a national newspaper. He enjoyed letting his creativity flow into his work, writing about things in his own words, using his own thoughts. Max could not dream of anything better. Growing up, he had always been good with numbers, but something so factory-like was never appealing to him. He didn't want to be a cog in a machine. He wanted to be the machine. From his job, he met his wife, Katie. She worked as a data analyst at a firm that had been contracted for a job relating to Max's section of the newspaper. After a single date, they knew that they were great for each other. Not a single reality exists where we aren't together, Katie said about a month before she passed away. Max had his life flipped on his head. His perfect 7 shoe life became a 0 shoe life as he stopped going out or seeing anybody at all. He fell behind at his job. They only kept him on because he had shown years of commitment, but he was so very close to being let go, like he had let the world go. He stopped wearing his wedding ring. He loved Katie, but couldn't bear the reminder of her passing. Eventually, he tried to go back to work. On this day in particular, however, he heard a strange noise come from his spare bedroom as he was about to leave the house. Perhaps he wanted an excuse to stay home, or perhaps he simply expected the worst, as he had done ever since Katie's passing. Regardless of reasoning or motive, he grabbed a knife and slowly opened the spare bedroom door. 3 Shumax found himself standing in the dark closet. What had been glowing just a moment ago now seemed somehow void of any light. Turning back around to leave, he found the door to feel different. It was now smooth, cold to the touch, and almost glossy. As he pushed it open, the light that spilt onto him was not from the bustling office environment he had just entered from, but instead a well-kept, seemingly unused bedroom. It was only then that 3 Shumax noticed the clothes touching him. He was in a wardrobe. He stepped out. Perplexed would be an understatement. How had the room changed? Forget that. How had the building changed? This was a quiet home. He wanted to go back. He didn't want to be a part of something he couldn't comprehend. He had already gone against his routine by wearing white shoes. Getting lost in a strange magical wardrobe was not penciled into his schedule. As he pressed at the back of the wardrobe for some kind of hidden doorway, he accidentally knocked some clothes onto the floor. Their hangers clattered together, making a bang. He knew that if someone was home right now, they probably heard him. He started trying to think of how to explain his situation. I entered from a glowing supply closet on the 5th floor of an office building somehow. Didn't sound believable, despite him living those exact events. As it turns out, a believable explanation was not needed. As the bedroom door creaked slowly open, Max saw himself standing there. 3 Shumax didn't even notice the knife, and 7 Shumax forgot about it the moment he dropped it to the floor, despite it narrowly avoiding his feet. The 2 stood there for a brief moment, anticipating the other to speak. "Who are you?" 7 Shumax broke the silence. "Max," an answer that anyone could have expected. How is this possible? There was this glowing supply closet, and 3 Shumax gestured to the wardrobe. Still unsure of how to explain anything, he noticed a small framed photo hanging on the wall. "Max and Katie, you're married to her." 7 Shumax didn't answer. She'd find that interesting to know. 3 Shumax thought aloud. This got his attention. "Katie is alive. Where is she?" "Through the wardrobe. My Katie is." He spoke as 7 Shumax pushed past him to get to the wardrobe. "Tate, can you hear me?" He pushed at the back, as 3 Shumax had also tried. It was still no avail. "Katie, it's me. We're not together." Max turned back to look at Max. "She's dead here. We were married. I'm married. But she's gone. I'm sorry to hear that, but I need to get back. I don't know where I am." Suddenly, bursting through the bedroom door, came 5 Shumax. "Max, don't freak out, but I'm you. I think I'm in another universe. I've been here for a few hours, so I came to wait." "What?" 5 Shumax noticed there were already 2 Max here. "Do you know a Katie?" 7 Shumax asked urgently. "Of course, she's my partner. I fell into her wardrobe to borrow some shoes and ended up in some newspaper company. I left before anyone saw me." 7 Shumax let out an audible sob. Katie alive, but uninterested. Katie alive and sharing shoes. Anything seemed better than his situation. She's dead here. This is his universe, and she's dead. 3 Shumax caught the new one up. After calming down and chatting for a while about how to return home, they all got onto the subject of their lives. 3 Shumax in particular began to wonder if he even mattered at all. If the multiverse means he is only one of infinite, how can anything truly matter? He didn't speak this aloud. He just wondered it silently in his head. He wasn't one to speak his opinions or thoughts. 5 Shumax explained that he and Katie were going through a rough spot. "I think she wants me to propose, but I don't know if I want to. I feel almost pressured." "How dare you?" 7 Shumax spoke with a louder voice than usual. "She is everything. How could you even entertain that idea? Do you have any idea how lucky you are to still have her?" "I know, but..." He paused to think. He knew it was true. He appreciated her a great deal. But was she right for him? A silence fell over them as they all contemplated their unique situations. If the multiverse is infinite, this right here was proof that they are each their own individual. The same DNA, the same name, yet vastly different minds. These were not 3 Max. They were Max, Max, and Max, each independent of one another. 3 Shumax interrupted these thoughts by speaking. "Katie doesn't even want to be with me where I come from, and I think that's okay. We're friends. and I'm lucky to have her in my life, but I shouldn't dictate how I feel based on how she feels about me. The fact that you both fell for her doesn't mean anything for me. I'm not you. I can live with being a different Max and living a different story. 5 Shoe Max continued this emotional opening. I'm going to propose. I know deep down that I want to. The patch we're going through right now is scary, but I know that things will work out. We always come back on top. A scary adventure is better than no adventure. I'm lucky I get to have that adventure with someone I care about. 7 Shoe Max took a little longer. Before he spoke, I miss Katie. I miss her so deeply. I want to see her again, but I feel better knowing that others still get to experience being around her. Her warm smile, her contagious laughter, they do not belong to me. They belong to her. I am glad you both have the honor that she has shared that with you. She has chosen to let you both into her life in different ways, and I hope neither of you take that for granted. Soon, the wardrobe began to glow. Each Max said their goodbyes, knowing that whilst they may never meet again, the lessons they had learned from one another would forever stick true. They had each discovered how to look at themselves from a new perspective, knowing that the only life worth living is the one you live yourself. And 3 Shoe Max bought a 4th pair of shoes.